They're, at least that's the initial report, wrong way down the street. Chris Christie, we got you now. Are these looters and police are actually after him?
These are looters. LAPD trying their best to catch up. He's doing circles around this block, driving very recklessly now. These are the looters that looted that pharmacy. They believe these are the looters that looted that pharmacy just north of the protest. And now they are in a black Charger. LAPD had one unit who was able to catch up with them, tried to pull them over, and they are now in pursuit, what is becoming a dangerous pursuit. If you just take a look at this driving, going very high rates of speed on very narrow surface streets here in the valley as he zigzags his way through, coming off of Sylmar, getting onto Kittredge now, at times getting onto the wrong side of the road, now weaving through traffic and driving very recklessly. Pedestrians in the road. Right before you came to me, he came so close to a bicyclist. They're jumping out of the car. We've got some of the passengers foot bailing. The driver is still driving. We'll stick with the driver. We did see something fly out of the car, possibly a bag of something.
A red bag. We saw them throw that out.
And we'll see if they're able to track him down, because now he's in a little bit of traffic. I could tell you that the LAPD airship is overhead calling the shots too, so hopefully he won't get too far and they'll be able to converge on him. But it does look like LAPD has lost a little bit of ground on him, but the driving is very dangerous. These are now wanted looters in pursuit.
And Chris, the pharmacy, was that the medical marijuana pharmacy or a different pharmacy?
Different pharmacy.
Oh, okay.
It was south of the Boost Mobile. First they hit, actually I think it was one of the very first businesses very close to the protest that they hit up a pharmacy just north of Sylvan on Van Nuys Boulevard. And then they kept going, and this is believed to be that group. Now on an alleyway, I think. No, that's Cedros Avenue, coming up on Archwood Street, going northbound. No sight of LAPD in this shot here, but they're still on him. So we'll try and keep up with them. We'll see if they can keep up with him as well, but they do have the helicopter overhead at least, so that's at least a little bit of good news. But the speeds are worrisome here. It's now turned into a following, basically tracking him at this point, because the speeds were getting just too dangerous on these streets. There's just too many people out right now. It's worth mentioning we are under a mandatory curfew, and here in the valley I have a feeling that we're going to see that being enforced here in the next couple of hours in a more strict fashion if this continues. But this is a group of looters once again now being tracked by the LAPD. We saw a couple of people at least jump out of the passenger side, and now it looks like it's just the driver. Well, I don't know that. There might be more people in the back seat, but at least the driver obviously still driving very recklessly up Vesper Avenue now.
All right, Chris, as Chris continues to watch this situation, a very dangerous pursuit. We just saw a dramatic shot from Veronica's camera. This is in West Hollywood. There's Veronica in the shot, and that was a police officer who was kneeling actually with the protesters.
They still circling.
Kind of a emotional moment of solidarity between police and protesters. So we wanted to bring that to you, and Veronica has been able to capture that, and we'll see some images of that a little bit later on. So things are progressing on a positive way when it comes to that protest in West Hollywood. On the negative side, the pursuit continues where Chris Christie is, where we believe there are looters that are finally being pursued, and they hit a pharmacy.
Looks like someone else made a run for it. Or no, I take that back.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we just have the driver at least. We don't know how many more people are left in that Dodge Charger. That's the black car right there. You just saw that LAPD airship fly through the shot. We widened out because we wanted to see how far back LAPD patrol units were, and it looks like they've fallen back quite a distance. It'll be interesting to see. He's going through Sherman Way now. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to pick this back up. I think that might, I think his driving might dictate some of that. They just don't have enough resources to chase every looter across the entire city. We saw that last night in Long Beach. They tried, and they caught some of those looters. But there was one point last night in Long Beach, David and Ellen, I looked out the window from Air 7 HD, and there were about 3 or 4 separate pursuits happening right in front of our eyes. It was an incredible sight, and now we see that happening up here in the San Fernando Valley, at least with this one pursuit now going northbound on Van Nuys Boulevard.
Well, the hope is that perhaps some of the people who bailed, they might have been able to pick them up. And with that, with a license plate, they might be able to do some decent police work later on and get everybody involved. It's not totally necessary that they track this car down right now, especially if it becomes dangerous.
Well, the way he was driving through those surface streets and near pedestrians, and even now, it was probably a pretty dangerous situation.
Yeah, I mean, I say that with the consideration that there are so many things going on across the city right now when it comes to protests, other looters out there, that there has to be priorities, and that's what we saw yesterday, where there's just police officers are spread thin. There's only so much that they can do.
Yep, exactly.
Well, there he's going, a high rate of speed, Chris.
Picking up speed again. We'll go ahead and throw up our real-time speed tracker. About 40 to 50 miles per hour, slowing down for this next light, it looks like. I see he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him, so he's slowing down for that, but we've seen some really aggressive driving. At this point, they have given the order to fall back and just track him. Again, making a northbound turn onto Tyrone Avenue. He's covering a lot of the same streets, but he's moving north gradually, and now he's again northbound on Tyrone, making what appear to be random turns. Who knows if he's even from here? We know that some of these looters are coming in from other areas. He's backing up into this intersection in front of this truck driver and turning around to go back southbound. One has to wonder whether he's going to meet up with his friends. But at one point earlier, I saw one of these looters with what appeared to be a walkie-talkie in his hands. Wouldn't surprise me if it might have been a police scanner, and maybe they are on to, you know, these appear to be strategic looters, and they appear to be pretty well prepared and appear to be strategizing throughout the day. So there's a little bit of speculation in terms of whether he's actually listening to law enforcement or how much he knows here, but certainly it looks like he's getting a little more comfortable, maybe making his way back into the area where it started. But right now he's still a bit north. We're about 20 blocks north of that protest. Now going back in that direction, though, on Hazeltine Avenue, which is where the LAPD originally picked up these looters. It was on Hazeltine, down by Victory, where they managed to track him down after he looted that pharmacy.
Yeah, maybe he's picking up his buddies or something.
Well, we were watching images all over the place. Philip has a camera down, and we just saw a reenactment of George Floyd's arrest right there on that camera. They just stood up, but people, protesters in the streets, trying to be heard, and their signs are out there, but also
Cool.
a rather dynamic showing of the reenactment of that arrest.
Yeah, I think we're looking on the left-hand side at pictures from Philip Palmer. Is that what we're seeing? Or okay, yeah. It's hard to keep track. There's so many different places that we are keeping track of right now. But also that pursuit that's happening on the right-hand side now at tracking mode. They believe these are the looters that robbed a drugstore in Van Nuys.
So the pursuit on the right-hand side in Van Nuys, that camera on the ground is Van Nuys. Now we move you to Hollywood. That large group of protesters, they're walking down Hollywood Boulevard. Keep in mind, Veronica Miracle is with a group that's in West Hollywood, but they're on Sunset Boulevard. We don't know if these two are going to coordinate and merge, but similar vicinity, but just two different major thoroughfares. But this is Hollywood heading westbound, heading towards West Hollywood.
And this guy is at a stop. Is he at a stop sign? Or
It does appear he's come to a stop. We'll widen out a little bit. Looks like he's in some traffic, actually, at a stop sign or a stop light. But it is not lost upon him that he's got a couple of helicopters above him. In fact, I think he just gave us a glance. I caught a quick glimpse of his face, and it looks like he's wise to the fact that he's being followed from above, even though the LAPD has fallen back on the ground.
yeah, hopefully they were able to get his license plate.
Okay, Valerio Street is where they are. Chris, is this very close to where the protest is happening?
Eastbound on Valerio, no, he's moved quite a distance away now. He's in a completely different part of the San Fernando Valley now. In fact, this would be basically, I would call this Burbank. We're basically, well, maybe closer to Panorama, kind of near Panorama City on the edge of Burbank. And you can see he's now going southbound through an alleyway, coming out on Wyandotte, making a left turn here. And I just wonder where he's from. Where did he come from? Is he a local Valley resident that decided to loot? Is he coming from another part of LA? Or